Welcome back to this hobby of ours. As you can see, I am still trapped by excellent prices and the second time around watch company store. John, thank you for letting me stay here a bit longer.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So there is a lot of yap, chit chat everywhere about the watch industry, the state of the industry, what's happening with Rolex, new, pre-owned, gray market, this, that, the other, recessions coming, whatever. But you need to be able to drive through the noise. And what better way than to talk to someone who is living it, living it. Let's find out from John, what do you make of all this bric-a-brac yap?
Well, in my opinion, there's three different categories. You have brand new watches,
right?
You have pre-owned, which I refer to as modern used watches, and then you have the vintage market.
The vintage market, okay.
Let's start with the new stuff. New stuff, they're not producing as much, and Rolex won't tell you the truth. Rolex will never tell you the truth.
None of your business.
The reality is they just can't get raw materials to make a lot of the parts. A lot of things are closed down. There's, in China, there's been a lot of lockdown and stuff. So there's a shortage of some of the raw materials to make some of the components.
I would have never guessed that.
In addition, when they had the lockdowns in Europe and everything, it slowed down, and so it's not at full force yet.
That I got. I had no idea raw materials. I thought they were going foundry.
No, I mean, I separate side issue. I had a car that had gotten into an accident, and it was a unbelievably high usage component. That there's hundreds of thousands of cars with that on, but I couldn't get it, and I finally begged them to find me one in a junkyard. Because the part they couldn't get the raw materials at the factories to make this component.
I didn't know you can get Ferrari parts at a junkyard.
No, we're talking about a Jeep, component that they've been using for decades. Okay?
Right.
Then you have the pre-owned, and what's happened is because people can't get the newer watches, some people are going to the more recently used or relatively modern watches. So that market has improved.
Right.
The problem is getting the inventory.
Right.
Just now, things are opening up. I mean, for a couple of years, we couldn't get watch dealers couldn't travel here from Europe. They couldn't travel from Asia. So the markets, and even if you go to shows now, they're at best 1/3, maybe typically about 1/4, 1/3 the volume they used to be. Wow. You'll see a lot of empty tables. The room size is
like IWJG shows, and
much less attendance, and because there's just guys can't travel. Guys don't have the inventory, and if you go to somebody's display, it's less than what they typically have.
Right.
I mean, even our inventory is down because we're having difficulty getting stuff. It's starting to improve.
The cases look full to me.
So the demand went there, and then same thing with vintage. Vintage has started to get a little bit more of a demand because people couldn't get the new stuff, and the more modern stuff. People are exploiting the prices on it. So vintage is there. So at one point in time during the height of the pandemic, and prices are starting to drift back to a more reasonable amount. Right. We were paying on average, and I am not kidding, 250% more for a standard Rolex Datejust than what we paid prior to March of 2020.
Wow.
Those numbers are coming back to a more realistic value. We didn't increase our prices 250%, but it was a struggle, and it is a struggle, but it's getting there. So you have that different thing. And the vintage, there is a demand, but on the really older stuff, there's a different demographics. A lot of our customer base are passing on. And a lot of times their family doesn't want some of their older pieces.
Right.
Or they don't have children to pass things on to.
Yeah, that's definitely my problem.
So we've had to change a little bit of what we have on display. A lot of watches from the 20s and everything like that the younger generation thinks maybe they're a little too small.
Okay.
But then there are those of the younger generation that thinks they're very cool. So it's weighted both ways.
Right.
So I think a supply issue and a lot of times they would go to a watchmaker with an older watch, and the guy says, "Oh, parts aren't available," and that may be relatively true because again, production and stuff. But with eBay and things like that, we can track down different components, and it's not as dire as people let you believe in the secondary or the vintage market and trying to get stuff. So it really is different worlds out there. And then added to that, you have all the publicity and all the blown out of proportion, misleading stories about people getting robbed of their Rolexes.
Yeah,
especially here in Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
These are people, and I hope I don't offend anybody out there, that are exploiting their wealth. They're wearing a lot of gold bling with diamonds. These are watches and they're showing off what they have. They're carrying their Louis Vuitton bags, getting into their Ferraris and
fancy
like
folks.
They are exploiting what they have, and those are the people that are getting robbed. And this is not a plug for the store, but the stuff we have here, none of this is real bling, and it's not. It's very subtle. It's not going to stand out in your face.
Right.
So it's not as likely, but that has hurt the industry in general as well. But again, it's blown out of proportion. These stories are sensationalized. I do know somebody who personally, two different people that personally were targets. One of them, rubies, diamonds, gold, her and her husband wearing his and her Rolex presidents.
Yeah.
That happened. Getting into their brand new Mercedes, but going out of their way to exploit their wealth. And another guy, it wasn't related to that. He's just a massively huge watch collector.
Right.
And he invited somebody into his home that was later came back and robbed him.
What the heck? Unacceptable.
Yeah, somebody who was the son of somebody he knew.
Right.
And so it was unexpected. He thought he could trust it. So, that's hurt the industry a little bit.
Yeah.
People are overly cautious. I'm here to say, get yourself a stainless steel Rolex, even a gold Rolex. Don't go with all the exploitation.
No bust downs in this house.
Yeah, don't be carrying your Louis Vuitton bag and just advertising that you have wealth if you have wealth.
Yeah.
And you won't be a target.
That's smart anytime. I don't know why there's so much focus on it now per se, because I imagine, like me and my buddy G Money, we were walking up and down a street. I don't think it was here, it was somewhere, and I'm pretty sure we were getting followed. I had a Tutima chronograph on. From a distance, it would look like a Daytona, but my spidey sense was tingling, and this little guy was following us, and we stopped in front of a nail salon that was closed, and I'm like, hey, come here for a second. I pretend to chit chat with him. And this dude stops with us, looks in the nail salon as if he's disappointed he can't get his nails done, and then turns and scurries the other way.
That's a little bit.
It was a little bit shady.
Again, it's they're looking for the things that people are going to want, and that's really visible.
Right.
Wearing a vintage watch, it's so subtle. Only a true watch collector knows what you have, and they're not the ones that are going to hold you up and steal it.
All right, so we got Rolex market covered. We've got raw material shortage. We got be careful with your watch. Just be smart, right? Anything else impactful in the industry you'd like to share? Give us some advice on.
My suggestion, and we say this to everybody who comes into our store when they can't decide what they want. They ask our opinion. Our opinion doesn't matter. Your opinion matters.
Amen.
It's your wrist.
Yep.
You have to get what you like. I always say to people, you look around the store. These watches date a time period when most people, this is the only watch they own. So this is the one watch they chose. So
one watch collection.
Choose what you like. Don't worry about what other people think. You're the only one you need to satisfy and to please. And it doesn't matter what other people think. And a lot of guys. We have a guy right now who's looking at a watch. He loves it. He wants his wife's opinion. And I tried to tell him, I understand you might appreciate your wife's opinion, but it's your risk.
I don't know, permission versus opinion.
Wasn't permission, it was opinion.
Well, she is his girl, and you want to look good for your girl, but I definitely feel you on that. So I think that comes back to something, my overarching perspective. I don't bash any brand. Wear the watch you like, wear the watch that fits you, but the only bad watch is an F watch. You know what that is? That's the only bad watch out there. So I want to say thank you to John. Can I go home now? I've been trapped here by all these amazing pieces.
But no special discount.
Oh, what the heck? Doing all this work? But you will get a special discount. So John and I are going to put together a little special Hobby of Hours code for you that's going to give you $200 off any watch, anytime. And hit me up, hit John up. Like I said, I only add trusted suppliers to the videos if I trust the supplier, and I certainly trust you guys, John.
Thank you.
You've been a gentleman, and looking forward to
Appreciate
doing more business with you. And hope you enjoyed this ride, and we will catch you in the next one.
Thank
Peace.
you.